rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
You can't legislate focus. You can't legislate drive, ambition. You can't do it. Some people are just more driven. They're smarter. IQ, they're driven. They're focused. They have a chip on their shoulder. You can't legislate. I understand in society, you've got to have safety nets. You don't want to see young kids fall through the floor. I get it. But in sports, we are trying so hard to create parity, and it's just a joke. College baseball, 19 of the top 20 teams, warm weather. Kids want to play in warm weather. Geographical advantage. For the rest of your life, college baseball, college football, college basketball, who's in the Final Four? Duke, Kentucky, and Michigan State. Powerhouses. Again. You want to know the preseason top 10 next year in football? Go to the 1950s, same teams. Ohio State, Michigan State, Alabama, USC, Oklahoma. One outlier, TCU, one. The NBA, this is a joke, and I love the NBA, but the Lakers last night beat Philadelphia. What in God's name are they doing? It's the second time they've beaten the Sixers. So right now in the NBA, the Knicks, Minnesota, Philly, Lakers are the worst four teams. And the way the lottery works, they have to jerry-rig this lottery because they don't like tanking. And they've been doing this forever, right? But people are still tanking. It's not working. The lottery doesn't work. The Lakers, by the way, you're not allowed in a top 5 pick to drop more than 3 spots. So the Knicks have 1. They could go no lower than 4. The Lakers have the 4th pick. They could, in the lottery, they could go to 1 or 7, but they could go no lower. But the problem for the Lakers, if they drop below 7, if they drop below 5, they lose their pick entirely. Because that's the way that pick works. What a mess. What a disaster. What a joke. Let me just suggest something. Why not, if you want to fix the NBA lottery, every year let everybody in and everybody's got a chance to get the number 1 pick? In European soccer, they eliminate the 3 worst records. You're ineligible to be in a lottery. You're out. You suck. Your problem. You're inefficient. You're not capable. You're not rewarded for it. You're punished for it. We keep giving the Knicks, who are a circus, the Sixers, Orlando, hey, let's keep sports welfare. It's not welfare. Everybody's rich here. Let's stop worrying about the welfare of teams. Everybody in the NBA is rich. James Dolan is one of the richest guys in the league. Stop it already. Bill Gates is allowed to win Powerball. Why can't the Cavs and the Spurs win the lottery? Why not? Colin, that wouldn't be fair to the lesser teams. Of the last 15 NBA finals, you know who's been in all 15? Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, or Duncan. And they've won 12. It ain't working. This lottery to try to lift up Orlando and Philadelphia, that's a you problem. You're lousy again. Minnesota's been on sports welfare for 30 years. They're still lousy with all their picks. It just cracks me up. Why can't you, instead of putting 12 teams, put all 30 sitting in a room? I'd watch that. Wouldn't you? Instead of 12, put 30 in there? What's going to happen to the lousy teams? I don't know. Minnesota will be lousy again like forever? It doesn't exist. College basketball's Final Four is basically 4 powerhouses because Wisconsin's now a top 10, 15 program with Bo Ryan. It's the same. There's been almost no upsets. Next year, outside of TCU, same 8 teams ever. College baseball, same 15 teams will be good. It's sports. It's not real life. We're not worried about kids growing up and falling through the cracks. These are people getting educations, free college, no debt. In pro sports, they're all millionaires. The average salaries are 1.6, 2.9 million. This idea that we're trying to create something, it's just all these safeguards, it's a joke. Well, the Lakers are hoping they lose, but they won. The headline here today is the Lakers win another must-lose game. And they've got the 4th pick, but they could fall out of it if they don't win. You're never going to avoid the tanking. So stop playing the game, putting in safeguards. LeBron, has every bit a chance, like Bill Gates, to win the lottery. Let's roll the ping pong balls out. It's just, to me, it's so ridiculous. We're so concerned that certain people will dominate the NBA. Hell, they have been for 30 years. Go look at college basketball last 20 years. UConn's got 4 titles. Kentucky's got 3. They'll get their 4th. Duke's got 2. They may get their 3rd. Carolina's got 2 or 3. Same teams. George Mason, 0. I'm not trying to be cynical here. I'm going the other way on this. This lottery and this. And here's the other thing I hear. Well, Colin, if LeBron wins, everybody will think the league's fixed. We do now, right? I don't, but you do. The NBA's been fighting the fix thing forever. That's with all the safeguards. That's with all the reviewable tape. So who cares if the wackadoos, the Bigfoot followers, the little green men group, who cares if they think it's fixed? They do now. And most don't watch the NBA. Heard brought to you by Regis. New way to work. Call 1-800-OFFICES, 1-800-OFFICES. Minnesota doesn't deserve another good pick. Orlando doesn't deserve another good pick. If they get it, the player won't want to stay there. I'm not blaming the fine people of Orlando, but stop it. God, I mean, go look at that Minnesota Timberwolves roster. It's full of college All-Americans. They're lousy. Adam Silver, you're welcome. Fix that problem. Next up, world hunger. Right after this, brought to you by Regis. It's just not that hard. We're just stop it. You can't legislate IQ, drive. If you go into a car lot in America, it's not about race. It's not about gender. The same 3 guys, same 3 salespeople do the best every year. You go to the best Mercedes dealership in Orange County, the best one in Bergen, New Jersey, the best one in Rochester, Minnesota. You go to that real estate office in those towns or that car lot. Same people every year dominating. You can't legislate everything. I understand welfare for our children. I get social services, absolutely. But sports don't rise to social services. Who gives a rip if Minnesota stinks again? They have forever. Well, I'll tell you what, if I was that kid for the Cubs, I'd be in a bad mood today. That Kris Bryant, that kid's getting hosed. It's hard for me to support Scott Boras, but, man, I'm supporting Scott Boras today. I don't like that at all.
Putting style in black T-shirts. It's Colin Cowherd, the Thundering Herd podcast.
This whole thing about what the Cubs are doing, the Chicago Cubs are doing something that's legal, but if I was Kris Bryant, and this kid's an amazing talent, he's a big league hitter right now. He's a 300 hitter in the bigs today, and the Cubs don't have a lot of good players. Is he a great defensive third baseman? How many are there in baseball? Honestly, 6. But basically what the Cubs are doing, they reassigned him to the minor leagues, even though he's dominated spring. Instead of bringing him up to start at third base, they've said, we're going to keep you down there for 12 or more days, and that will allow us to not have to pay you for another year or 2 in free agency. They're kicking the can financially down the road. The way it works in Major League Baseball, from the collective bargaining agreement, is if they send, and teams have done this before, I think the Angels did it with Mike Trout, but now it's just more public, that if they send him down, it delays his free agency by a year, meaning, essentially, we'll pay you later. If I'm the best player right now in your organization, and you're trying to delay me getting paid, I'm not going to forget that. It's not like you got another third baseman, I understand, who right now, 7 years in the bigs, 280 hitter, he's got 2 years left on his deal. You don't have anything. I'm your best hitter. And you're basically just to keep money away from me for another year in free agency, you're going to keep me in the minors. I would never forget that. Now Scott Boras, and by the way, this Kris Bryant, he's not just a good Cubs player. He's considered a top 3 or 4 prospect in the bigs. He's the next star in Chicago. He dominated in the spring. Nobody can hit in baseball. He tore it up. And they're going to keep him in the minors. It's not about the length of time in the minors. It's the fact they can now delay paying him, and they get to keep his rights. That would bother me. Scott Boras, his agent, who's the biggest, baddest, best agent in baseball, says, first of all, this stuff happens all the time.
I've had many, many players that are really good players that have gone on to become all-star players and such who've been in this exact situation. I've never complained, never brought attention, ever.
This is different, though, because he is such a great player. The Cubs are so void of talent, Scott Boras.
Not having him in the major leagues is now brought to the level of something that would violate an ethic of the league standard. It was never intended that you send down major league star quality, superstar quality talent so that you could take a particular system and manipulate it to your favor.
By the way, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred says Boras should mind his own business. This is his business. He represents this young star. This kid's a star player. This kid's a star player. Anybody that follows Cubs spring training, and frankly, the Cubs are a really popular spring training team, really popular, he tears it up. He is a great, great, great player. It's not a prospect anymore. He's going to walk into the bigs and be an all-star level player very soon. It's like Mike Trout walked into the bigs, was great. You know, this kid's walking in, he's going to be great. So it's all I'm saying is, now Stanzik and I argued about this. Just because you can do something in life doesn't mean you should as a business. Listen, business always has more power than the individual. Howard Stern's unique in my business. The company always has the power, the enterprise over the employee. But there are still things you shouldn't do if you want to curry favor or create an atmosphere where we come in every day and work our tail off for the company. I'm the best player you got, and you're trying to hose me on free agency. I'm not forgetting that.
Yeah, but, dude, it worked for Evan Longoria and Mike Trout and Will Myers, and I don't know all the specifics on that, but those guys didn't leave of their own volition. Mike Trout signed a new contract. Evan Longoria signed a new contract. Why is it different now? Why is the tide changed?
Those are winning organizations. Okay, the Cubs have been a laughingstock.
Yeah, but they have Theo Epstein, who knows what he's doing.
He is the best player they have, the best talent they have.
And Longoria was a can't-miss prospect, too. So was Will Myers. So was Mike Trout. It's the same exact situation. I don't know why people are freaking out now.
I just think it's manipulating the sport.
It's 12 days, whatever. See you in 2 weeks. Hey, have fun in Iowa or wherever their AAA farm system is.
Just telling you, if I'm that player, I'm thinking, man, I'm going to get...
Yeah, you're mad now, and then you rake in the big leagues, and then 3 years later you get a big deal, and you've forgotten about it.
Listen, what came out yesterday in music? What did Jay-Z create yesterday? Tidal. I'm a huge fan of Tidal because Tidal will finally give the leverage, some of it, back to the artist. Why should Sony make all the money? The artist is doing the work. I don't have a problem with the company making big profits. I don't. But artists have been getting hosed in this society for the last decade. The last 10 years have been awful for music performers. When you go to a concert, do you go because of Sony or do you go because of the artist? Shouldn't they get a big cut of it? I'm not anti-business here. I am for the enterprise. I own a business or two, or I'm part of it. I get it. I like it. I've said before, I like working for a formidable company. I'm not anti-business. But you got to be careful with star performers. This kid is a star. Be very careful. Be very judicious in dominating. I'm not a big fan of it. I just don't like the idea that your best player, you're keeping him out of the sport. All those season ticket holders, you're going to get inferior players. The best players down in AAA, you're paying full boat for your season ticket, are you not?
Yeah, and you're going to get it. You're going to miss 4 home games. So there's a lot of baseball games, Colin. Okay. So for 77 games, you'll get Kris Bryant. Buy your season tickets.
Okay, by the way, one of us is for the little man, one of us isn't. We see where this country stands.
I am America.
You're in the herd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
I follow Jimmy Johnson on Twitter, and I grew up in a small fishing community, so I kind of watch that stuff. I think it's funny. Jimmy Johnson he may win some bass fishing championship. He just coaches those sailfish right onto his, come here, snapper. Come here, right up to the hook. So Bo Ryan, who I think is a little out there, he's wound a little too tight for my cup. You know, he's not my kind of guy. A little tight, a little intense. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a smart guy. He was a disaster a few years ago on Mike and Mike. It was just a disaster. But he had this long comment. I broke into thirds yesterday, and it's pretty interesting. First of all, he was asked a question about, one of the reporters said, you know, people are criticizing college basketball because, you know, the scoring's down and all this stuff. And here's the first thing he said about that.
It's a way to talk about college basketball. It gets talk shows going. It sells advertising. To me, it's just there's a plan behind all of this, a master plan by people who, you know, try to want to stir things up.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like Jay Billis, Dickie V, and I, we text in the morning. All right, master plan. Let's criticize college basketball. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There is no master plan. Scores have been dropping. Attendance has been falling. TV ratings until this year were dipping. That's just dumb. Nobody has a master plan here. I don't call Jay Billis, hey, what are you saying? I'm going to say the same thing. Hey, get a hold of Dickie V. What's he saying? I'm going to call Gottlieb at another network. It's a big master plan. Bo Ryan sounds like an old wackadoo.
Your defense of Bo Ryan is off to a rip-roaring start, my friend.
I am going to defend him.
Are you?
The first one, he sounds idiotic.
You just said he said the stupidest thing ever.
Well, the dumbest thing I've ever heard is there's a master plan. Like, my job is now a master plan. That's stupid. I hit Billis up on Instagram this morning. Dude, brah, let's clobber college basketball. That's where he sounds stupid. All right, the second thing he said, okay, let's play the second thing he said.
Our ratings have been the highest for the tournament. There's so much good about college basketball that people kind of refuse to talk about or get into. And so, you know, I like to spin it the other way.
All right, there are good things about college basketball. He's right. There are. And him saying, I want to spin it the other way. I think it's a great game, opportunities, educational. There are good things about college basketball. The final, and by the way, Final Four this year is getting ratings. Why? Because there's no upsets. Because it's all Duke, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Michigan State. That's why it's getting ratings. The last 10 years, the ratings have been going down. So the first thing he said was moronic. The second one, we can argue about it. There's two different spins. His spin's fine. The third thing he says is absolutely right on.
I think the game's in great shape, and the fact that it is our college game, but you get pro guys doing all the announcing on these postseason games, and they want to act like it's supposed to be an NBA game, not an NCAA college game. To me, it's all about who's spinning it.
Now, the first part of that I thought was kind of goofy, too, because the game is not in the greatest shape it's been in. So the first thing he said was dumb. The second thing, go either way. The third thing was really dumb. But he does make a very good point at the end.
If he ever needs a defense lawyer, he should not call you.
But here's what he said I do like. He said you got the NBA guys talking about college basketball. I love Charles Barkley. I love Kenny Smith. But you should have college guys. They're not invested. They parachute in. They don't care. That's not a knock on those guys. I was saying this morning, and I want people to call me and tell me if I'm off my rocker here. I honestly believe we think of basketball holistically, but it's not. The NBA and college are two different products, and they appeal to two different groups. The NBA is for cities that have more action, that are less loyal, where people are more mobile. People are more distracted in big cities. They've got pro sports. A higher percentage of people are wired for technology in cities. People are distracted. You can't do 55-50. People want to see stars. They want up-tempo. They want athleticism. That's why the NBA is popular in cities. It's a more entertaining game. College basketball is largely in smaller towns. Loyalty's bigger. Slower pace. Smaller towns seek tradition. They embrace community. Smaller towns are full of people. Nobody moved there for a job. You moved to New York, L.A., Chicago, Dallas, Minnesota, Seattle, Denver for a job. Small towns are about people who stayed. community, loyalty, tradition, same church, same grocery store. That's very appealing for college basketball fans. It's not the most talented players, but they wear Wisconsin on the jersey. They wear Butler on the jersey. So he's right about that. The college game's the college game. Don't try to connect the NBA to it. And when CBS puts Barkley and Kenny Smith on, they don't love the game. They're NBA guys. And I love them both, but they're parachuting in. They don't care. Put college guys on college broadcasts. But what they're trying to do at CBS is ramp up the ratings. Let's put really popular Charles Barkley on, and he will say something outrageous and funny, and the numbers will go up. But that's where I defend Bo Ryan. Is, he's watching it, it's college, and you got Charles Barkley and Kenny are like, well, those guys are NBA guys. They attract the NBA audience. To me, Gottlieb, Clark Kellogg, Seth Davis, Dickie V, Jay Billis, Seth Greenberg, that's who should be talking. Jay Williams, that's who should be talking about college basketball. So am I crazy on that when I do think basketball is two different sports and they appeal to two different types of people? And the college basketball fan is often smaller to mid-sized town. He's into loyalty and community and tradition, and it's more than just entertain me. NBA teams are in cities with a lot of stuff to do, a lot of restaurants, on the beach. You got pro teams, baseball, football, basketball. There's museums. But they need to be entertained, baby. In 55-50, you're not entertaining me. Give me points, give me vertical, give me stars, give me halftime entertainment. So there's where I agree with him. The first thing he said was just the silliest thing in the world. That whole, I really am an ally of Bo Ryan. It just doesn't sound like it when I talk about him on radio. Maybe I'm wrong. Scott, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Hey, Colin. Don't think you're totally off your rocker with the NBA guys doing it. One thing I would say that the reason they're doing that is because so many casual fans that don't watch during the season will tune into the tournament, and you need big names because really what they're trying to do is keep you from flipping the channel during halftime. People know Barkley. They know Kenny Smith.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
so
you're right.
I can see why they're doing it.
No, I get it. What I'm saying is I defend Bo Ryan on that. And Bo is saying, listen, I think the college game, there's a lot of good things, and we shouldn't be the NBA, and we're not the NBA. And when you talk about it, why do we have to bring NBA guys in to talk about college basketball? I agree with him on that I think they are separate. I understand what CBS is doing because ratings are the name of the game. But, now I disagree with him. What was the sentence he used? What was the first thing he said? It's what was the thing that I thought was the silliest thing in the world?
The master plan, you and Dick Vitale.
Oh, God, he sounds like L. Ron Hubbard. The master plan. I mean, good. Dianetics. Give me a break. Nobody's got a master plan. That's the stupidest thing. Yeah, I'm literally on chatting with Dickie V, Pinterest, every morning to see what's going on. That's stupid. And he also said the game's in great shape. It's not. Attendance is falling. Until this year, Kentucky, in the historical perspective, the numbers were dropping. It's not in great shape. But it's a separate game. It attracts separate people. Country music is really big in the South, and it's big in smaller towns. Very rarely do I drive in L.A. and New York and hear country music. But I think country music's fine. I like Keith Urban. I like Keith Urban. It's a little faster. But I like a faster pace. I talk a little fast. I wouldn't fit in a small southern town. I talk too fast. You got Jay Wright last hour. I like that title thing Jay-Z did yesterday. I really do. I think that's a game changer. Streaming is here to stay for artists, the artists. I like the idea of it. He created this thing called Tidal with a bunch of other artists because artists have been getting hosed. Although somebody sent me an email whose wife works at a big company in Los Angeles and said, the music industry, they're horrible investors. They lose 2 to 3 times their returns on 95% of the artists. That's only 33% back on what they invest on an artist. That's like you saying, hey, bank, I'm going to buy a house for $1 million, and you only pay $333,000. Basically, Jay-Z, Maroon 5, and freaking Bieber hold up the entire ship. It's a mess. So, Colin, I'm tired of hearing super rich artists complain about getting paid. The music industry is one of the least profitable industries out there. They overpay, has been. Hot young artists every day, and they never get their money back. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong on that whole title thing there.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
And it's funny, we got into a discussion this morning about tattoos, and Vince is not a fan of the tattoo industry, but he acknowledged that you do find one woman very attractive with tattoos. Like, I would have no problem dating somebody if she had a sleeve of tats. Now, if her whole body was tatted up, that's not my thing. I mean, you know, it's like they say about food. You eat with your eyes first. I mean, your eyes are the gateway to everything else. If somebody's just got 8,000, if somebody has 1,000 of anything, I'm always alarmed. If a woman had 1,000 cats, I think she's offered gourd. If somebody had 1,000 tats, 1,000 cats, they collected 1,000 clocks, there's something not quite there. 1,000 of anything, I'm a little alarmed. So I could not go Birdman, full tat, that face, this, and not my cup of tea. But a sleeve for a woman, that's all right, bro. Vince, who did you find attractive finally?
Kat Von D. She's actually a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
And she has face tats.
I know. I think Kat Von... Now, Stanzik, you are judging the face tats? You don't like... Let me see. I find her attractive.
A face tat? Get out of here.
No, I don't like her face tat there. That maybe just be her...
Vince does drive a motorcycle, though, so...
She's a very attractive woman. Let me see. Let's go back to another picture. I find her to be attractive.
Radio gold right here.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're talking about tats. It's not very good radio.
No, you're looking at pictures.
I'm looking at pictures of an attractive woman with a lot of tats. She reminds me, you know what, of Sarah Silverman, the comedian. Sarah's attractive. Sarah's cute.
Great story.
Here's the thing about Bo Ryan. Yeah, I'm not trying to rip on Bo Ryan, but anytime anybody ever talks about, like, it's the old master plan thing, and Bo Ryan's talking about the media's in cahoots here.
To me, it's just there's a plan behind all this, a master plan.
Oh, God. Come on. Stop with that stuff. You sound like L. Ron Hubbard. Yeah, you got to get out of that master plan. Listen, if you don't have a job for 8 years, maybe it's not everybody else. Maybe people aren't working against you. You know, it's not, you can't blame everybody. Very rarely can people get organized. You know what ESPN's master plan is? Profits. That's our master plan, profits. Everything they do, can we monetize it? They're like everybody else. That's CBS's plan. That's NBC's plan. That's Fox Sports' plan. Profits. Getting noticed in a crowded industry. I'm not into this whole, if you're blaming your life's problems on the Illuminati, yeah, I mean, listen to the master plan thing. I just don't like the phrase master plan.
To me, it's just there's a plan behind all this, a master plan.
I just don't like master plan talk. Dartez, you're in the herd. Go ahead, Dartez.
Hey, Colin, how are you doing?
Good.
Well, I think you just spoke on it. The master plan is profit. Not only are we going to get the college and the small communities, we're going to try to steal with Barkley the city people and try to get their attention. So we're going to change I want the shot clock to stay 40. I'm a coach. I want it to stay 45 so our small towns and the less athletic people can have a chance to go to the NCAA and show themselves. So it's not with you and Bayless doing your thing, but it is the numbers and the ratings.
Well, yeah, I think if the master plan by CBS is to enhance the ratings, I don't think that's sinister. I don't think that rises to there's a master plan out there. It is the mission statement for broadcasting entities that are not .orgs to make money. That every single network, I've worked for Belo, Fox, Fox News Corp. I've worked for, this is Disney-owned, I've worked for ESPN. Well, profits are important. That's how we pay people. That's how we buy rice. There's nothing wrong with that. ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive, creators of the Name Your Price tool. I don't know. All right. I think the tournament's been very good. I really do. I think Kentucky and Wisconsin is very competitive. I think Duke may hand it to Michigan State. I think Duke may win that. Now, Izzo gets a week, but a lot of his advantage is muted because he goes up against another coach. I think Duke can win theirs by 8 to 10 points. Duke's half-court offense right now is rolling. I think Wisconsin-Kentucky's a 4 to 5 point game. I don't like right now half-court offense for Kentucky, and Wisconsin's big and can shoot. So if Decker gets hot and can shoot, I think Kentucky will win, and Kentucky's got more good players. I think Wisconsin keeps it very close.
Want more of the Herd? The Thundering Herd Podcast.
So LeBron James came out and said, I have 3 very good friends in the NBA. Melo, Chris Paul, and Dwayne Wade. That's it. Last week, Kevin Love talked about his relationship with LeBron on Mike and Mike, saying, we're not best friends. James told the media, people get so infatuated with the best friend thing. First of all, I got 3 great ones in the NBA. Melo, Paul, and D. Wade. And then I got a bunch of teammates. I have guys I ride for every day, but Kyrie Irving's a guy I understand how important he is to this team, how important he is, and same with Kev as well. Yeah, it is funny that I got into this discussion. When did I get into this discussion? I got into this discussion with my daughter the other day. Young girls are kind of cruel. Like, my daughter's got problems that I never had as a young boy. My son, little boys don't talk about what little girls do. Little girls can be mean and cruel, and appearance matters, and they're just petty. Boys aren't petty. I mean, I'm a guy, I'm 50. I've never, ever had a petty friend. We just don't care. Like, you hang with a guy, I can not see a buddy for 8 years, then you see him, you drink beers. You can fight with them the next day, get along. It's just not. Girls can be more catty and petty. It's the reality. I'm living through it with my stepdaughters and my daughter. And I told my daughter, I said, you can't worry about it. I said, you know how many friends I have from high school? Like, how about we start with 0? I haven't seen them in 30 years. You know how many I got from college? 1. Now, in Vegas, when I went to Vegas, I got 2 or 3. 4 really good buddies, because then I was on my own, had a little scratch, could do things. But in high school and college, my schedule was largely regulated by a college, academics, by classes. So I'm 50 years old. Nobody from high school I'm close with, although I like people. I got my buddy Jack in Olympia, Washington. I like him, but I'm not what I would say super close. I'm not there. College, 1. He's my broker, Dean. Still good buddy, still trusting buddy, good buddy. And then 3 or 4 in Vegas. Then I moved to Portland, and I got about 3 or 4 from Portland. And I'm like, and then my wife. And I'm like, so I got under 10. Like what you would call under 10. Now, I basically hate everybody here I work with, so I have none since I moved to Connecticut. But everybody wants, like the idea that you got to be best friends, LeBron and Kevin Love. How many best friends do you have at 50? First of all, I never have had what I would consist of like once you're a grown up, you don't call people best friend. I've got like guys. I've probably got 8 to 10 guys who I'm there for, I talk to. That's about it. But this idea that Kevin Love, who's kind of a loner, is going to be boys with LeBron, who gives a rip? Seriously, who cares? God, if you can have 3 great friends. I tell my daughter this. I said, when it's all said and done, if you can have 3 great friends, and hopefully one of them is the person you're married to, you've done well. Then have 2 other great friends. It's a great life. Once you have kids, you don't have that much time anyway. But Kevin Love was on Mike and Mike. He talked about his relationship with LeBron James. And, it's not tight.
We're not best friends. We're not hanging out every day, but, we see each other every day, whether at the practice facility, whether on the road, or, going to a game. So I think our relationship is also evolving. So I could say the same with, each and every coach, Coach Blatt, and each and every player on the team. But, that's part of the NBA. And I think, as I've said all along, as long as it's for the greater good, then it's fine. And, I'm sure that, he's going to have me in the next picture. We'll see.
By the way, Stanzik, how many times have you been at my house?
0.
Yeah. Now, I've thought about inviting you.
No, you haven't.
I did once. Vince, by the way, Vince and I on the road, Vince and I have meals together. We hang. He does his thing, I do my thing, but we generally have a meal or two together. How many times have you been to my house?
I've never even seen your house.
Okay. John, you were at my house once for a cat or something, weren't you?
Twice. I picked you up. I was your chauffeur twice.
Yeah, I got a flat tire or something, yeah. All right, in our show. Now, didn't Stearns, don't they hang out and go to strip clubs? Wasn't that thing years ago? Did Stern hang out with his? I thought Howard and Gary were close.
They don't like hang out like buds, no.
Okay.
They were all work things.
It's all work stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't like Kevin Love. Like, we go to work and we get along. There's no animosity. We don't hang out. How many? Seriously, I don't even have. My closest friends aren't even in broadcasting. They're all like restaurant people and accountants and like weird jobs. You have a professional relationship, and if it's good, it's good.
You're just avoiding the whole story here. LeBron and Melo, so tight.
I'm discouraged by it, but I wouldn't say I'm bothered by it. I just, I think he can do better. I think LeBron can do better than Carmelo. I just think he can do better. Chris Paul I like a lot. I like Chris Paul. I love Dwayne Wade. I think they're mature. I am discouraged to know that LeBron is close friends with Carmelo. Yes. I don't know. This idea that I don't know. Lucas, you're in the herd on ESPN Radio. Go ahead.
Hey, Colin, I agree with your take on Kevin Love. I'm a Lakers fan, so I understand the whole Kobe and Shaq dynamic. But what's a little bit different is that it doesn't feel like Kevin Love's going to be there next year, because if you're Cleveland, why would you pay him the next contract? And so from Kevin Love's perspective, he's not really committed maybe long-term to make it work. And so because of the short-term situation, I'm not sure that it will resolve itself.
So you wish they were closer friends because if Love has to make a decision to stay, you do wish they were a little tighter.
Right.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but remember this, Jordan and Pippen were not best friends. It's not like Stockton and Malone went to the movies together much. I think Kevin Love will stay if the Cavs win a title or get to the finals. I think Kevin Love, it's going to be very hard to walk out if he goes 7 games with San Antonio and lose. That's going to be very hard to walk out of that and go to the Lakers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and think about this. LeBron's admitting him and Dwayne Wade are best friends, and he bolted him.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. So, look, that's a great point. LeBron and Wade are boys. He bolted. Yeah, he could have signed with the Knicks. His boy didn't. Carmelo's always, LeBron's always been about business. What is good for business? How do I win titles? So LeBron stiff-armed Melo, his boy, and dissed Wade, his other guy. Yet he would stay. He will root for Kevin Love to stay, even though they're not boys, because he's a good player. I think it's going to be very hard. If you get to the finals, win or lose, that's hard for Kevin Love to leave. That is, if you don't want to live in Cleveland year-round, remember the NBA, you got 41 games on the road. You're not home that much. If you're not a Cleveland guy, you're in Cleveland 125 days a year. You're not in Cleveland that much. The off season, you don't have to live in Cleveland. You move there right before the season. Half the season you're on the road. You're in Cleveland 125 days.
Colin Cowherd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Why don't you allow the lottery in the NBA? I'm not being contrarian here. Anybody can win it any year. I mean, the way it works now, Cleveland's already won it twice. They got Kyrie Irving and LeBron James over the last, 10, 15 years. Orlando won it several times. But if you want to get rid of this tanking in the NBA, then open it up. Anybody can win the lottery any year. Anybody. Bill Gates and rich people can win the Powerball lottery and the state lotteries. There's no economic restrictions. It's not my fault if the Minnesota Timberwolves are once again bad and boring. Maybe the league shouldn't have a team there. But in the last 15 NBA finals, it's the same players in every one. It's obviously not working. It's not working. This idea to create parity in sports is not working. You know who's going to be good again in football next year? Ohio State. You know who's not? Purdue. Last 50 years, same story. Who's in the Final Four? Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State. Who was also a number 1 seed? Villanova. It's the same teams every year in college baseball, college hockey, college soccer. Go look around. It's the same 10 teams in all of them. It's like real estate on the beach in California is always going to be more expensive than Omaha. You can't legislate it. More people want to live in the sun. If you go look at the beach and the coastal properties in Florida, it'll always be worth more than Cleveland. That's just the way it is. Rich people want to see views. San Francisco, Park Avenue, and Laguna are always going to cost more than Galveston or Louisville. Nothing against Louisville. It's nice. But everybody's trying to legislate everything. You can't. College sports, college hockey, baseball, football, basketball. The same 10 teams vying for titles every year. You occasionally get an outlier like George Mason or TCU in football. It's the same teams in hockey, same college teams in soccer. How many times next year in the Super Bowl? Who are the favorites? Seattle and New England. I'd be shocked if Seattle didn't win the NFC again. I think they'll be better next year. They were all banged up this year, and they still got there. Now that Harbaugh's out of their division, I think Seattle is a heavy favorite. And look around outside of Baltimore, who's going to get in New England's way? Jacksonville won't be good again. Shocker. Either will Minnesota. Whoa, you don't say. I don't know. I think you open up the lottery for everybody. This whole thing about, okay, the Knicks get the Knicks will butcher it. The Knicks butcher everything. And the league's fine as the Knicks are terrible. Lewis, you're in the herd. We were talking about LeBron and Kevin Love not getting along. What's your take on it? Go ahead, Lewis. Luis.
Hey, Colin.
Yeah.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
All right. So my take is, and I don't think Kevin Love is going to be a Cavalier next year, and it's mainly because of the relationship with LeBron James. And here's why I think why. So everywhere LeBron James has been, he's made an effort to include or get close with at a minimum, all of the top players. He doesn't seem to be doing that with Kevin Love. And the reason why I think that is because Kevin Love is not kissing his arse. And so maybe he's offended by that. I don't know what it is, but clearly there's an issue with that relationship. And that's the reason why I think Kevin Love won't be there next year.
Now, here's why I disagree, Luis, is because Kevin Love is a loner, and he doesn't seek friendships. Kobe Bryant's a loner. Kobe had Derek Fisher and Brian Shaw, and that was about it. It would be different if Kevin Love was outgoing and Chauncey Billups or Shane Battier-like and engaging, and LeBron was ignoring him. But Kevin Love is aloof, and that's not a criticism. Kobe's aloof. I don't think Kevin Love cares that LeBron James and he aren't tight. I think Kevin's his own cat. I think Kobe is. And I think, Luis, you bring up a good point. If Kevin was this big, broad, engaging personality and felt like he was being excluded, I would agree. I don't think Kevin Love is that. I don't think he is. Dan, my belief is in the NBA, open the lottery up for everybody. You'll eliminate this ridiculous tanking problem. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I just agree with you, Colin, 100% about the whole culture of losing or building a quality team. I mean, I live in Indiana. I'm an IU fan, and we are at the bottom of the Big Ten year in, year out because we make stupid decisions and we recruit poorly, and so we reap the consequences of that. And we're starting to do it in basketball. Regardless of how you feel about Knight, over the last 20 years, the culture and the decisions it's just devolved to mediocrity, and it just continues happening.
Well,
so I agree with you. The rich get richer and the poor get poor because of dumb decisions.
Well, yeah, and I think in society, Dan, I understand safety nets. I do. You don't want to see kids. I mean, here's an absolute truth, that poor kids become less productive adults and become have a higher crime rate. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. If you grow up in chaos and you're poor as a kid, you will become statistically less productive and have a higher certainty of involvement in crime, regardless of race. So we should make sure that we help young people who are in chaos or impoverished. It helps society. But sports isn't that. Sports isn't that. Sports is about winners and losers. And everybody in the NFL, baseball, and the NBA is a winner. They made the league. So stop trying to legislate parity. It's the same 7 NFL teams. Here's who's going to be good in the NFL next year. Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, Indy with Luck, New England with Brady, Baltimore with Joe Flacco. Did I say Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay? I guarantee you they'll all be really good. All of them. Here's another 5 teams that I think will be good, and you start naming them, they're also good quarterbacks. So and here's who's going to be bad. Oakland, Jacksonville, Minnesota. I mean, in baseball, last 19 seasons, right? Last 19 seasons. 4 teams have won 13 World Series in 19 years. The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cardinals, and the San Francisco Giants. You had an Angels, a D-back, a White Sox, a Philly. Yeah, you do have a couple of Marlins. I'll give them credit. So I could say this. 5 teams in Major League Baseball have won 15 of the 19 championships. Boston, San Francisco, and St. Louis will be viable contenders again this year. Yankees won't. So you're trying to do this stuff. NBA, it's ridiculous. Last 15 NBA finals, it's been 5 guys in all of them. Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, and Duncan, 4 of them. They've been in all of them. We're trying so hard for this NBA. It's not working. It's not working. Andrew Wiggins, the minute he can leave Minnesota, will. He doesn't want to be there. Most of these great players, they want to play with other stars. I got Jay Wright coming up around the corner. When you really look at sports, seriously, when you really look at sports, it's amazing how the same executives, teams, and players are left at the end of the year. Look at our Final Four. Wisconsin now classifies as a basketball power with Bo Ryan. So it's Izzo, Ryan, Krzyzewski, and Calipari. There's 360 programs. It's the same 4 guys. Logan, you're in the herd. Go ahead.
Hey, Colin. How you doing?
Good, bud.
Hey, so I read an article, I think, about a year ago, and I want to say it was on Grantland.
Okay.
And it talked about how each of the teams in the NBA, the best way to do it and the fairest way to do it would be to rotate each of the teams and, so you line up all 30 teams, and each team would get a specific draft number every year. So let's say this year the Lakers would draft number 1. Well, that would mean next year they would drop automatically to 30, and then so on and so on. And so then 30 years later they would get the number 1 pick again. And it's kind of an odd system, but when you look at it, I think it really does work.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. I don't know if that was on Grantland, but what you would do is it was a 30-year plan, and it'd be like, let's just take like the worst team in the league's the Knicks. So the Knicks get the 1, but next year they get the 30. The next year they get the 15. Then they go back near the top. And what you do, you'd have teams go great, bad, middle. Great, bad, middle. Over and over and over and over and over and over again. So, I got to be honest with you. I don't think that's terrible, Logan. I
don't think it's terrible either because, it cuts out – because when you look at college basketball, like, for instance, this is a weak college basketball year. There's a couple guys that you know you're going to want coming out of college this year. You're going to want Okafor, you're going to want Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
But besides that, who's really out there that you're interested in? Last year, teams were trying to take as bad as they could because, you had Jabari and you had Wiggins and you had Embiid and those guys like that. So teams are trying to take more to get those kind of players. This year, teams are still trying to tank, but what's the incentive?
Yeah. No, Justin Winslow at Duke, D'Angelo Russell at Ohio State are also very interesting. Cauley Stein, I don't think he'll score much in the NBA. More Tyson Chandler. Logan, I don't think it's a bad idea. If Simmons did that and the guys did that, I just think it's a ruse. This idea that everybody's tanking, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. And it's not solving anything. In our society, we allow the rich to win the Powerball lottery. So what? Who cares if the Lakers win back-to-back-to-back? I got news for you. The Lakers win 3 straight lotteries, the league's better off. They got signs all around the NBA arenas when the Lakers are good. You know what it says? Beat L.A. When's the last time you saw a sign that said beat Denver? Colin, the problem is you'd have an entire generation of fans that would miss their team having a top pick. I'm not losing sleep over that. I'm not.
Technology gone bad. Gone bad. This is the Thundering Herd podcast.
Religious freedom law in Indiana, but it's hurting business. Pat Hayden, USC's athletic director, on Twitter just tweeted this: I'm the proud father of a gay son. In his honor, I will not be attending the College Football Committee meeting in Indy this week, Embrace Diversity, or the CFP committee meeting. You can listen to conservative talk radio in Indiana, and they're going to tell you, well, what about the other states? And, this law doesn't mean that. Here's what this whole thing means for Indiana. Big business ain't showing up. Deal with it. You look outdated, Jurassic, embarrassing. Don't worry about other states. They don't have your image nationally. You know, if Alabama did this, they would take much greater hate than if California did this, based on the state's history. Indiana is super rigid. There's a certain stereotype, and when you allow this to happen, you're going to take a massive hit. You go to your conservative radio station, you complain to Rush Bowe, you write O'Reilly on Fox News. 20 other states have this, 20 other states have that. Here's what it means. We can live without you in sporting events. We'll just go to New Orleans now. See ya. You better get it right. It's not like sports needs Indiana. They don't. They'll just move events to other cities. So you can argue on your conservative station what you think it means, and other states, go for it. I wouldn't worry about other states. I'd worry about you. You're going to lose billions of dollars, and you're not a state historically that can afford that. You don't have a beautiful mountain range like Colorado. You don't have a beautiful coastline like the Carolinas, Florida, or California. You don't. It's cold. It's flat. Rough winters. You can't afford to force business elsewhere. Yeah, I know you got one steakhouse everybody likes. Congrats with that. How about you embrace food diversity, too? Herd brought to you by Ferguson. Over 60 years, Ferguson's been the name pro contractors count on. Put them to work for you at Ferguson.com. Oh, it's the liberal this and it's a... Whatever it is. Whatever. Get it right. Gonna be ugly. Check out the Indianapolis Star's front page today. They know it's trouble for its citizens and the state.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and on ESPN News. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
I'm George Sedano, and on the latest NBA Lockdown podcast, Al Horford dashes the Wizards' hopes, possibly, and have the Warriors figured things out against the Grizzlies. Download the podcast at ESPN.com/PodCenter.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.